Och, the Helios 44M, cheap, affordable, with a sole manual lens from Russia. All the modern lenses are too perfect, too good, and they lack a soul, unlike the old manual lenses from Russia. If you want to add this special imperfect look, just use Helios 44M and you will be golden. The thing is that I grew up in the Eastern Bloc. 30-40 years ago, if you wanted to have an SLR and something better than the Russian point-and-shoot cameras, the Helios lenses were the only option we had. Sure, if you had more money, you could buy something from the West or Japan, but in any other case, the Helios lenses were the only thing you had. And you know what? From what I remember, they sucked. Yeah, they sucked a lot. And not only because they were manual lenses only. Aberrations, flare, and, let's be honest, a questionable build quality were the issue. Let's be honest. Whenever anybody got any money here in the Eastern Bloc, we were selling Helios lenses, selling Zeniths, and buying something better. So let's quickly compare how this thing, the Helios 44M to 58mm f/2 compares to this thing, the Panasonic Leica 1260. And let's see if it really has a soul. Quick disclaimer, the Helios 44 is rather a long lens. At 58mm and the full frame, maybe this is not a big of a problem. But for example, I'm using the Micro Four Thirds. There it's more than 110mm, and even with APS-C bodies, it can make a problem. It is a fully manual lens, and if you want to film yourself, which was in this case required, I suffered a lot. So be prepared that the footage from the Helios is from time to time just not perfectly in focus. I also had to close the lens quite considerably, but I have no idea how much, because the aperture ring of this thing is inverted. On f2 it's fully closed, and on f16 settings it's fully open. Where's the logic? No bloody idea. And the results are, of course, highly subjective. First of all, those old lenses are much softer than the modern ones, and that's a fact. Yes, for most of the time I was not really 100% in focus, but even when I was in focus, the image was much softer than the modern lens. It also lacked with contrast and colors, but not as much as with softness or lack of sharpness. But the biggest feature of those lenses is the flare. It's huge. Let's be honest, in Russia there was no access to good multi-layer coating on the lenses. This is why all those old lenses, and especially the cheap one from Russia, have that huge of a flare. If you like the flare, if you want to have the flare in your picture, then great, fantastic. Helios 44 is definitely a lens for you. If not, however, then, well, it all depends on other factors. But the biggest problem, and I do mean the biggest problem, is that if you do not have a full frame body, those lenses are extremely problematic. The effective focal length after applying the multiplier puts those lenses in the portrait area. Too short for the tele, definitely too long for the multi-purpose lens. With the full frame, it's okay, but with the APS-C or micro four thirds, it is really a problem. But because this is manual only, if you are trying to film yourself or are not very good at manually focusing, you will suffer a lot. Yes, I have a couple of those Helios 44M, but guess what? I'm never using them, because they are just such a hassle. And the cases where you can appreciate the softness and the flare are not really that popular. If you want to try them, sure, be my guest. They are relatively cheap, but not really as cheap as you might expect, because there is a pretty high demand for them, and the adapters to install to basically every modern digital camera are easily available and are usually cheap. So it's not really a big problem of having one of those. But will you use it? Well, that's a completely different story. Here's the next video you should watch. In the meantime, I'm Paweł Spychalski. Thank you very much for watching. And, like always, happy filming!